The US government is imposing a travel ban on 5 prominent free speech campaigners in Europe and the UK because of their role in shaping laws intended to improve online safety. The Trump administration says the 5, 2 of whom are British, have interfered with freedom of speech in the United States. Here's the BBC's Greg Mackenzie.
The 2 Britons targeted are Imran Ahmed, head of the Centre for Countering Digital Hate, and Claire Melford, who's the chief executive of the Global Disinformation Index. Now, the US claims that they've sought to pressure American tech companies and advertisers into suppressing lawful speech, calling them part of a global effort to censor US online platforms. The reaction in Europe has been furious. France's President Emmanuel Macron launched a blistering attack, accusing Washington of intimidation and coercion. Now, the EU has demanded explanations from Washington, pointing to its right to regulate US tech firms, including recent fines against platforms under EU law. Now, the UK government has responded tonight. In a statement, a spokesman said the UK is fully committed to upholding the right to free speech. While every country has the right to set its own visa rules, we support the laws and the institutions which are working to keep the internet free from the most harmful content. It goes on to say social media platforms should not be used to disseminate child sex abuse material, incite hatred and violence, or spread fake information and videos for that purpose.
Greg Mackenzie. One of those whose journalism was influential on the Trump administration's decision is Paul Thacker, a former congressional investigator. He's written a report on the CCDH, that's the Centre for Countering Digital Hate, which is based in Washington, D.C., but has a British director, Imran Ahmed. That report was cited by Sarah Rogers, Undersecretary for Public Diplomacy at the US State Department, in a post on X on Tuesday night. Paul Thacker has been telling me what got him interested in researching the CCDH.
They were started by Morgan McSweeney, who's the chief of staff to your prime minister, and a guy named Imran Ahmed, who's a Labour Party political operative. And they used it initially as a vehicle to bash the more liberal wing of the Labour Party, the Jeremy Corbyn wing. And then once they helped to push Jeremy Corbyn out, they landed in Washington in 2021, and they started becoming a tool of the Democratic Party. So that's where I picked them up at the time. And it's very clear that they use this idea of whatever it is they're going after as a precept to go after whoever is deemed some sort of political enemy.
I suppose the question is, why does it matter? They're just an organisation like any other organisation. They campaign on things, they have an agenda.
I think the difference is that this group was founded by political operatives within Labour, particularly Labour Together, to use the idea of misinformation as a cudgel to bang up against whoever they deem to be an enemy. So it's just not quite the same as a regular nonprofit that's interested in doing good stuff. The other thing, too, is that we've never really known where their money comes from. And what they're doing is they're attacking our constitutional First Amendment rights to have free speech.
This is at the core of this, isn't it? And in a sense, it's at the core of the decisions that the Trump administration has made and that have been announced today, the visa bans. For example, if you look at the people who set up the European Union's Digital Act, that's about things that are published in Europe. Their writ doesn't run to the United States. So why should the United States feel that free speech in the United States is somehow under attack by these people?
Well, I'll give you an example. Thierry Breton was in charge in Brussels on this issue, sent a letter to Elon Musk threatening him with legal action for hosting an interview with Donald Trump. I don't know how you conclude that that is anything other than an attempt to interfere in United States elections. And we're not going to tolerate that in the United States. That's just not going to be tolerated.
Is this not a case of very wealthy and influential people who have the president's ear getting people who are threatening their businesses or might potentially threaten their businesses effectively taken down? In other words, it's about the power of the state being used to advance somebody's commercial interest.
I think it's much more a fundamental difference between the United States and Europe now on what constitutes, free speech. There's laws that came online in the UK when it was first being proposed, the first person to testify in front of Parliament actually was Imran Ahmed of the Center for Countering Digital Hate. My guess is that he had a very intimate work in helping to get that thing passed. He also has worked with Thierry Breton, specifically to go after Elon Musk. And it came out, from the documents that were leaked to me by a person working for CCDH, that their goal was to kill Musk's Twitter. And I just find it ironic that a British citizen would be trying to kill an American company while living in the nation's capital. Before Imran Ahmed gets deported, which I think he should be deported, he should be prosecuted for the laws that he's already broken in the United States.
There are laws in the United States. It is a nation of laws, as we were told by the founders. Not a nation of men, it's a nation of laws. The law exists. The administration should use the legal mechanisms, not use the visa route, which effectively means they can do what they like. They're not accountable for it.
Look,
you as an American citizen prefer that?
I'm not an expert on immigration law or litigation in immigration law. So they said he's not allowed to have a visa. I am an American living in Spain right now. I would not engage in any kind of illicit behavior and then expect that I should be allowed to live in Spain.
That's US investigative journalist Paul Thacker. Well, the Labour MP Dame Chi Onwurah chairs the Science, Technology and Innovation Select Committee. I asked her earlier what she makes of the US decision, justified, says the White House, on the grounds of defending free speech.
Our committee delivered a report onto algorithms, social media and harmful content following the Southport riots. Actually, as part of that, Imran Ahmed did give evidence to the committee, but we also spoke to and heard from many different voices. We invited Elon Musk to give evidence. These measures, and the reason why I'm critical of them, though every state has the right to set its own visa rules, they're undermining freedom of speech because they're banning some people because they disagree with their views. There are many voices in the US who are considering how better to regulate and ensure freedom of speech without driving hateful and illegal, in some cases, content.
You mentioned Imran Ahmed, the chief executive of the US-based Centre for Countering Digital Hate. Can I put you what Paul Thacker has just told me earlier? His criticism of the organisation is, he says it's kind of effectively a front for the Labour Party. It was set up by Morgan McSweeney and others, and that what it has done is influenced elected politicians to frame legislation that actually promotes a particular cause, and that the so-called hate speech is actually just different political speech that they don't like.
I don't know whether he's aware of the fact that the Online Safety Act was brought forward under the Conservatives and by the Conservative Party following 7 or 8 years of discussion and debate, and to promote it as a influential front, but that's totally misguided. It's really important to have the debate. That's what freedom of speech is all about. By denying visas to those who have opinions that you disagree with. I mean, obviously, when it's an issue about, say, terrorism, etc., that's what all countries do. But in this case, it's because they disagree with what a number of people have said.
One of those who is to be banned from travelling to the United States, to be prevented from having a visa, is Thierry Breton, the former EU Commissioner. And the criticism of him appears to be that not only was he central to drawing up the legislation that the European Union has in this area, but that he also wrote and complained to Elon Musk about posting an interview on X with the President of the United States. And the critics, and Paul Thacker is one of them, saying it's not for Europe to tell an American businessman what he can and cannot have on his website about a US election.
These platforms are global. They make their money on, your feed in the UK that you are seeing. We have a sovereign right to regulate what happens in the UK. Our rules, our laws are maintained. And if in this country it is illegal to call explicitly for violence, and I'm not saying that's what Mr. Musk was doing in this case, but if it is illegal to do that, then yes, the UK has a right to regulate that. In fact, and it's also a contradiction to what President Trump is saying in terms of his suing the BBC for a programme which did not actually go out in the US. I just don't think that makes sense.
Given that British citizens are affected by these visa bans, what do you think the British government should do?
The UK government is in a difficult situation. UK-US trade deal is incredibly important to many of our manufacturers. UK ministers have told me and told the committee that does not influence how they draw up regulation on social media. But I think the UK, should make it clear that we are a sovereign country. I think it's really important that we push back against anyone trying to tell us what we can and cannot say and can and cannot legislate in our country.
That's Dame Chi Onwurah, who is the chairman of the Science, Technology and Innovation Committee in the House of Commons. We approached the government for an interview. They put out this statement. The UK is fully committed to upholding the right to free speech. While every country has the right to set its own visa rules, we support the laws and institutions which are working to keep the internet free from the most harmful content. Social media platforms and ads should not be used to disseminate child sex abuse material, incite hatred or violence, or spread fake information and videos for that purpose. It is approaching 90 minutes past 10 if you're listening to us live. Coming up on The World Tonight.